stone. This the category which for many years was dominated by Akikos Kakashvilis for Greece, who still hangs on to the snatch world record of 188 kilos and is quite likely to still hold that after today, given the weights that have been posted here. And the starting list there: Kolechki for Europe, the European champion, of course the Olympic silver medalist back in Sydney 2000, behind Kakashvilis. Yevgeny Bratin, the bronze medalist from the Europeans this year in Strasbourg. And then the improving Jürgen Spiess for Germany, coached by Frank Mantek. Vadim Vakachuk, experienced but a man who's struggled to make a total recently in major competitions. And so we're going to take a look at the best snatch efforts from the first half of the competition. And onto the stage comes Yevgeny Bratin, representing Moldavia, ranked 4th in the world coming into these championships. Originally born in Romania, but as I said, representing Moldavia, 3rd in Europe. And Bratin (175 kilos on the bar). First attempt. And that's a couple of kilos up on his performance in Europe. A good effort, but Edward Chokin of Kazakhstan in this competition, largely because the man who we were expecting to be here, Ilya Ilin, not able to compete. Won the Asian Games with a total of 397, won the World Championships last year with 392, but back problems, David.
That's right. He was, oh, that's a good lift. Very dynamic lift, that. Excellent. 176.
Yeah, so no mean substitute.
No, that's right. He apparently he's a fanatical trainer. Likes to lift heavy weights all the time, and apparently he was left for a couple of days to train on his own, and pushed himself a little bit too hard and sustained a back injury, which is a shame, because although well, his coach said that he was doing 185 snatch in training and clean and jerking 235 kilos, which is in excess of the world record. So it would have been great to have seen him here, really.
Well, here comes Konstantinov, Roman Konstantinov of Russia, 24 years of age, 172, 177, 180 kilos on the bar.
Well, that was 177.
177,
and,
in fact, yeah.
That was his second attempt. Yeah, very good, actually. Very athletic, very fast. And when you consider that this is just a shade under 400 pounds, and he's taking it from floor to overhead in less than a second, you begin to understand how powerful these men are.
Well, at the halfway stage, that was the situation. Konstantinov, the leader in the snatch phase, 177 ahead of Tyokin of Kazakhstan, and then just another kilo down, Moldavia's Yevgeny Bratin. Just take a note down there of Santiago Martinez, who competed in the B group. That's a pretty good effort there, 173, and at one time looked as if it might have been good enough for a medal, but we'll have to see how his total stands up in the second half of the competition. He totaled up 373 with 200 kilos in the clean and jerk, so on paper at least that won't be good enough to get a gold medal. So, second half of this men's 94 kilos coming up after this.
In Stuttgart this week,
So the men's 94 kilo clean and jerk competition. Just a reminder of the body weights here for you. And this is the second half of the competition where the likes of Kolechki have really got to make a move if they want to get involved in the fight for medals. It's really good to see Kolechki on the European stage, David, getting that European Championship. He's had a whole bunch of injuries, but that European title gave him the #1 world ranking, and he's been around for a long time. As I said, he got the Olympic Games silver in Sydney 2000, but he's only 25. So Edward Tukin coming onto the stage for his first attempt at 200 kilos, and at the moment I have to say, David, okay, they haven't got Ilya Ilin, which is a big disappointment for us and for them, of course, but this man is actually flying the Kazakh flag pretty well. He's already got a medal in the snatch phase, a silver, with 176. Now, how effective is he at this particular discipline?
Pretty good.
Well, makes the total 376, so that's secured. Don't look as if they're really setting the world alight, the coaches. There was no real reaction to this at all, so one can only presume that this was pretty straightforward.
So, Germany.
Tukin also, remember, was the Olympic bronze medalist back in Athens. Totaled up 397.5. So if you compare that and this, quite a difference. Now this is Jürgen Spiess for Germany. Only 23. He's one of Frank Mantek's new boys. Well, he's been in the camp for a long time, but really now only emerging at the highest level. He's been competing in Europeans, and he did compete in the last 2 World Championships as well. It's a step-by-step progress for him. And this man, who was born in Heidelberg, gets a good start. So 202, 373, his running total. When he's not lifting, he's a keen poker player, which I suppose, David, given the nature of this sport, is no bad thing. Knowing how to play your cards is a sort of essential ingredient. Mind you, he probably makes a few more bob playing poker if he's any good than he does lifting weights.
Yes, German lifters not what they were.
Yeah, but encourage. But yeah.
They seem to be sort of getting it together. I mean, with Mark Huster retiring and Ronnie Weller also retiring,
Caruso,
yeah, they're sort of back to square one, and they've got to sort of completely rebuild the team again. So bar goes to 205 kilos. 451 pounds, and it's Turkey. Yilmaz.
Yeah, here's a Hakan Yilmaz, a bit of a familiar face here, but only 165 kilos from the snatch phase, David, leaves him with an awful lot of work to do.
Well, I think at the Olympic Games, didn't he win the Olympic Games? And I think he snatched 180 there. So, but this is something that we're seeing after this two-year ban. The Turks really don't seem to be the same team at all, and whether they'll sort that out between now and the Olympics, well, only time will tell. He's normally up around 220 on the clean and jerk, so but that's good.
Yeah, it was only 6th actually in the last Olympic Games, 390, and the bronze medal was won by Chukin at 397.5, and of course it was Milan Dobrev who took the title in Athens with 407.5 ahead of Akeev of Russia.
But that puts him on 370, so sort of 20 kilos adrift.
Quick view there of Mr. Papadopoulos, Konstantinos Papadopoulos of Greece. You sense also that like Frank Mantek, Christoph Yakovou, he's got the whole task of rebuilding the entire Greek dynasty of lifters as well, but from a different perspective, because he's trying to do it with homegrown talent as opposed to imported talent. Now this is Katsabiev, Arsen Katsabiev.
It's always the problem, isn't it? I mean, Greece had a lovely run for quite some years, but it was all bought talent, if you like. Not really the basis for long-term gain. So 208 kilos. No problem.
So, trying to catch up a little bit here, because he was on 165. Same sort of dilemma as Hakan Yilmaz of Turkey, but much younger. Only still in his teens. Representing Georgia. There have been some good champions in this. Now here's a man who's been around for a while, almost as long as you, David.
No one's been around that long.
But recent times have not been happy times. No total in the World Championships in 2006. Got a snatch of 167 in Santo Domingo, but nothing in the clean and jerk. No total in the World Championships of 2005. No total either in the Olympics. 3 major championships in a row, nothing to show. Well, at least he secured a total this time around. Now 34 years of age, 208 to go with 167. It's okay, but it's pretty modest, David. It's not going to be, he's not going to be able to produce the sort of kilos to really challenge. Twice a world bronze medalist, 2003, and before that 1995 in Guangzhou in China. The new order. Well, that's what Frank Mantek hopes. And again, another lifter just taking the bar towards the back of this 4-meter square platform, just to give himself perhaps a little bit of room if he needs to move forward. Hopefully not, but Jürgen Spiess. These are all good marks that he's setting here. Mantek would love him to get this so he could just push him a little bit harder, David. Push him into the unknown on the 3rd attempt. Well, maybe he's getting to the unknown a little quicker. I would think he'd have to go for this again, you know.
Yeah, there's no point in taking any more. As you say, he's young. He's building slowly. Well, perhaps he is moving up. By the sounds of the announcer, the bar's going to 210.
Well, maybe that's the right thing. Get an extra couple of minutes and take that opportunity. So Andrei Damanov for Russia, 21 years of age. Brings forward 170 kilos from the first half of the competition. Damanov down in 8th place in the European Championships in Strasbourg earlier in the year, and outside the top 10 in the world rankings at the moment.
So 2-1, but that's good enough.
Yeah, it takes him to 380, 15 kilos off his entered target. Now, Konstantinos Papadopoulos.
You couldn't have a more Greek name than that, could you?
No, I was going to say, you know, we were talking about the other day about having the name of the lifter, you know, embroidered on the front of the vest. I couldn't. You need 2 lines, wouldn't you? 2 lines. They'd be a bit small, but they get, yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Well, I'll tell you what, David, it really does give you an idea of the progress this man has made in the last couple of years, because in the Dominican Republic last year, he was actually competing in the C group. Here he is competing in the televised A group. So Yakovu's done some good work with this young man. And he looks the part. So that was 210.
210. As is this. Oh, this man, the bronze medalist,
silver medalist, 176.
So by virtue of light body weight.
Yeah. So opening up on 210 for his first attempt.
He always reminds me of the comedian Jack D for some reason.
There's nothing funny about this. This is 1 kilo more than he lifted in Europe earlier.
Oof, well, for an opening poundage, that's
a bit of a worry.
It's rather heavy, and he don't think he understands what's quite going on there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been working around this area, 205 to 210 for some time, so I'm a bit surprised, actually.
Well, he caught it right, but just didn't have the power to stand up, and he looks surprised.
Are you sure you didn't put an extra couple of kilos on that bar? Is that really 210? Would have been great if you just looked at the loaders, wouldn't it?
So Poland.
Yeah, they got 2 in this. Bartlomiej Bonk and Szymon Kolecki. Kolecki, of course, much the more experienced man. Bartlomiej Bonk at 22 years of age.
Good, solid.
It's interesting, Kolecki apart, really, David. It's the Polish women who've written most of the headlines in the last, what, eight years or so. You sense the men might be about to take over as the generation of Polish women perhaps come to their end. It's going to be interesting because there are going to be quite a few retirements, I think, after Beijing next year.
Well, Dominika in the 60, I mean, one of the things we didn't mention in the 63s was Dominika Misterska.
Yeah,
very low down the order. I mean, she's normally gets a medal in the European Championships, but here she only managed very moderate weights.
You were quite impressed though with Kleinowska's performance yesterday.
Yes, I think it showed that she was coming back. I mean, she was second in Europe, and I think she sent me a little text and told me that she was pleased with her performance as well.
Yeah, she's the star act in the women's division at the moment. Here's Tukin, second attempt. But he's getting there.
Yeah, impressive.
Well, he's building up to the Olympics, as I said, Olympic bronze medalist in Athens. So if Ilya Ilin suffers a long-term injury, they've got this man in the wings. Not bad. 2:10, 3:76.
Die Grand Slams 2007 sind entschieden.
So Tukin on 386, just to correct that, and this is Bratin out for his second attempt. Well, I hope he's got over the shock. First one was a failure.
And it was a bad failure. It was a failure through lack of strength, which always worries me. If somebody does something technically wrong, you know they can come out and correct it. If somebody isn't strong enough to stand up with the weight, then you really don't have anywhere to go. Well, he stood up this time, but fouled in the second phase. So slightly more promising.
Yeah, but still looking confused. Have they got this wrong, David? Have they got this 5 kilos wrong? In other words, yeah, okay, 210 might have been the weight to go to, but that might have been the weight for him on the second or third attempt, but not the first attempt. So somebody's made a poor assessment. So Jürgen Spiess now out. He took that extra time. The bar has gone from 208, which he failed at, to 210.
So come.
And Frank had slimmed down.
He looked great a year or so ago. He looked healthy in the face and slim, and he was wearing
extra
a sort
portion of rhubarb and custard, doesn't he?
Yeah, he had a suit on, and the hair was slicked back, and he was looking really sharp. He sort of yo-yos a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's gone back to the cake. Now, come on, stand up. Well, that's a better attempt. Well, it was a good effort, that, actually. It's a good effort.
Well, he didn't make it. It leaves him on 373. But he's learnt a little bit more about himself today. It is an improvement on the Europeans. He totaled up 367 there for 9th place. So he's added another 6 kilos to the total since April. So it's not completely lost. And Frank just...
Yeah, you see every emotion with Frank Montag, don't you? Yeah.
What have I taught you? Now, this is serious. Here is the man who lies second at the halfway stage by just a kilo, but is on the verge of not totaling. And as we've emphasised right the way through these championships, it has extra significance this year because where you finish earns points for your country. Points for your country determine how many athletes you can send to the Olympic Games. So this really is important. There are 2 Moldavians in this class. Vakachuk's the other one. He's got a total. No.
So no total. So just the medal in the snatch, and perhaps a little bit more thought next time for the clean and jerk, and a bit more discussion with the coaches.
Yeah, on the evidence of what we've seen there, David, he should have come out for probably 205. I mean, he made ironically, he made 205 last year in the World Championships, but didn't get a snatch. So he's bombed for 2 World Championships going now, but in different phases. So Konstantinov looking very purposeful.
Yeah, in good shape, good physique.
The leader at the halfway stage, David Riggott. Very athletic.
Comfortable. Yes, and this was roughly the weight that David Riggott used to compete at. And he was in the old 90 kilo class. Actually had a clean and jerk best of around 220 kilos himself, and a snatch of 180. So in this championship, he would well, let's take it back over 30 years, and David Riggott would be winning at 4 kilos lighter. So that gives you an idea of how good he was.
Also puts into context, David, a little bit. I mean, we've still got a way to go in this competition, but at 2:11, compare this to clean and jerk world record of Kolechki's of 2:32. Not going to see that today, are we?
No, I mean, if Ilya
Ilin, yeah,
if he'd have been here, I think we would have certainly seen an attempt at that.
Bas oldu. Hadi nefesini al, nefesini al.
Looks good. So not at his best, but still racking up the clean and jerks.
Yeah, he's much more comfortable in this phase than he was in the snatch. But again, at the end of the day, David, I can't see him really being that competitive in this class. You know, he's too far back, too much to do.
Yeah, too far down on the snatch.
So this is the man from Cuba, Hernandez, Yoandris Hernandez, Pan American Games champion of the season this year, 172, 221 for 393. That's what he did in Rio de Janeiro in July. And he did 173 in the snatch phase, so that's 1 kilo up on what he did in the Pan Americans. So it puts him in touch, David.
That's a pretty good opener.
Yeah, nice and quite well balanced. 212. Guess we need to maybe keep an eye on him. 385 now, his running total. He posted 396 as his entry total. If he gets up to anywhere like that, David, he will be contesting for an overall medal.
Just cleaning the chalk off the bar. Sometimes if you get excessive chalk, it affects the effectiveness of the gnarling. And sometimes you can get blood on the bar as well, which of course health and safety wouldn't be too happy about.
So Vakachuk coming in for 212.
Yeah, he's already done 208. I think he has a best of 217, but that was some years ago.
Poor Moldavia need this. You just sense he's got his total, and that's what he's gonna, that's what he's gonna have, if you know what I mean. I dare to say it, David, but I think he's the wrong generation now. Still a damn good lifter, but
Yeah, just the edge has just gone off now. Well, this is the thing. Once you start getting into your sort of early 30s, it's you can maintain the strength, but the kind of training that you need to do to maintain the power, just for those extra kilos, is just becomes very, very difficult when you get to that age, because if you're doing 6 hours a day, the tendons and the ligaments are not quite as supple or flexible as they used to be, and neither the muscles, and this is the time you start picking up minor injuries and minor problems that obviously affect the effectiveness of your training regime.
And how do you find it in the 40s?
Well, I lift differently to how I used to. If I started to try and train 6 hours a day, I think by the end of the week I'd be in hospital now. No, I just do 3 sessions a week now, just general stuff, just to try and stave off old age, David. How many sessions are you doing a week at the moment? Stunned silence.
About 3.
About 3? Yeah, it's the same as me then.
On the ergometer.
Ah. No.
Well, the desire is there, David, but I'm afraid the strength isn't.
So 3 a week on the ergometer. Are you sure you're telling me the truth there? Because your lips were moving when you said that.
Well, it does vary from week to week. Anyway, back to the things in hand. Vakachuk, I suppose the only saving grace, David, is that he's got a total, which means that Moldavia have got somebody in the ranking. So at least that helps their cause. Now, same really applies here for Yilmaz. 2:13. He is much more comfortable.
Yes, he's down on his lifts, and actually he's visibly aged since we last saw him. And I know he is a couple of years older, but he seems to have aged quite a bit more than that since we saw him a couple of years back.
It ends there, I'm afraid. The challenge for 2007 at these Worlds. 2:13, the failure. 2:11, the good weight, but that only gives him 3:66. Probably needs a doner kebab. It's the amazing thing about Turkish food, isn't it? Everywhere we've gone, anywhere in the world, there is always a Turkish restaurant, there is always a Turkish support team.
I've got one at the top of my road.
Have you?
In Cambridge, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
restaurant, that is.
Restaurant.
Not support team.
Second string for Poland, but he is improving. This is, you might say, Kalecki's understudy at 22 years of age, 3 years his junior, but 11th in the world last year, former junior world silver medalist 3 years ago, I think. It's been sort of getting closer at European standard as well, so this is the man they're bringing on who ultimately may take over the mantle from Kalecki, who tends to be a little fragile, has spent quite a few years since that Sydney silver recovering from one injury after another. Well, I was quite hopeful for him actually, so a bit disappointed. 5 kilo increase. which at this weight category isn't so extraordinary, but it's a setback. Onto the stage, Eduard Tukin of Kazakhstan. 5 kilos up. This would take him to 391. Certainly been on a good little sequence here, and of course Tukin got the silver medal, didn't he, in the snatch phase. Bratin, who's bombed, got the bronze. So if you could lift this up, David, this would be fairly useful in terms of the total. There's quite a few lifts left, so you can't be sure, but it would certainly put pressure on one or two.
Oh, very, very close. And I think, again, suffering from the bar across the windpipe.
Leaves him on 386 and left to wonder, perhaps, David, as to what might have been. We don't know yet, but I mean, I think that 5 kilos was pretty important. How frustrating is that? I mean, he was so close. Almost sensed the coach's bonus going out the window there, didn't you? Konstantinov and Bonk.
Yes, Bonk needs to get out there and get a lift on the board.
Yeah, you can see all the boys. It's certainly much more humid and hot in the hall today. All the boys are, breathing that little bit more heavily at the moment. And it's that time of year when temperatures around outside 33 Celsius. It's just a little bit more oppressive, and Papadopoulos coming on for his second attempt, 216. So one senses that Yakovu smells a bit of blood here and thinks that if he can get his boy moving here, that he could be moving up the table. This is on the evidence of what we've seen, this is a young man who's improving quite quickly.
He's got some power and some speed. I think he's capable though. I mean, the clean was very comfortable.
Well, just as Frank Mantek has got Jürgen Spiess, Yakovu's got this guy, Papadopoulos, but he looks just that little bit ahead of Spiess, actually, of German. Looks that much more powerful, that much more capable. He lives every moment, Yakovu. Would have been very tempting, David, given what his lifters have achieved, late 80s into the 90s, right up to through Sydney.
Retirement.
To have called it a day, and he would have quite legendary in his own way. But I think the troubles of Athens, the doping scandal, and it took the edge off Pyrrhus Demos getting that fantastic bronze and that amazing ovation that he got in Athens. Sabonis really, that really sort of tore the guts out of everything, really. So Papadopoulos having to follow himself here, 216. Sabonis, just in case any of you are not aware of it or remember it, found guilty of doping infringement.
Yeah, I think it was. I think his testosterone levels ratio was slightly too high, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, one of those sort of arguable things. It sort of seems to change every year. Sometimes they allow a ratio of up to 1 to 10, then they sort of change their mind and take it down to 1 to 6, and they're not really very clear on.
And it varies between sport and sport.
Not clear on it really. Which which always worries me, especially as it varies between sport and sport.
Jakovo's usually the past master of a few words in the right place to sort the problem out. So 2-1-6. Clean is fine.
Well, not sure about that right arm.
No, neither was I. Now, what are they going to give it? 2-1? Well, he thinks he's done enough.
2-1.
2-1. Well, I think we both side with the central referee there, you know, David.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have this conversation every
have a look
every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
The right arm.
That is definitely a press out, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, stupid as the rule is, it is nevertheless a rule. So either referee it properly or discard it.
386 for Papadopoulos. Pity he didn't get it the second time. Would have given him just one more chance. Now Kasabiev.
Yeah, Georgia.
Yeah, but
yeah, came in ages ago with 208, so taking a really big jump to.
Yeah, but he only had 165 from the snatch, so yeah, he's just again like Yilmaz and Vakim, Vakachuk. He was just too far back, you know, to really make the difference to come up. You just can't give that sort of advantage away. He is young, and he is improving, but.
That's a little bit. I don't think he really wants to come out and try that again. That looks very, very heavy. As you say, low down in the snatch, trying to make an impression in the clean and jerk. So nearly 500 pounds crushing down on the knee there isn't much fun. So Russia, David Riggett, just giving him a few words of wisdom and motivation. David Riggett, one of the hard men of weightlifting. He was a bit of a character in his younger days.
Well, this will take him to 387. So this is moving him, this is moving him well up. Remember, he had 170 in the snatch. Yeah.
So, whatever David Riggett said to him seems to have worked. Yeah, Riggett, an interesting character. Years and years ago, used to go to the training camps, and if things didn't quite go his way, 2-1. Yeah, there you go. There you go. See, it wasn't any worse than the previous one. Yeah, I mean, what was wrong with that?
Yeah,
absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's pathetic, isn't it? It's so bad in a world championship to have this kind of referee.
But he's got it. I mean, fortunately, we agree with that. And that was the right decision. We didn't necessarily agree with the previous one. Yeah, do well to do this.
Oh, I look very comfortable. Excellent. So leader after snatch, now leading on the total. Just going back to David Riggett, he was a real character in his day, and there's one particular story where his training wasn't going quite as it should be, and he went off to a bar and got absolutely drunk and was told to leave. Refused. Allegedly, obviously. Was told to leave, refused, at which point 6 policemen turned up, and there was a fight, which several of the policemen ended up in hospital. David Riggett ended up in prison for 6 months. They allowed him to train. He came out and won the World Championships. He was a real character.
Yeah, well, there was that Russian, I can't remember his name now.
He never used to let his weightlifting get in the way of his vodka drinking. That was one of the things with David Riggett.
There's a Russian years and years ago, I can't remember his name, but he was a high diver, and he was on the World Cup circuit, and they went out to Los Angeles, and they were out there for they were out in Florida, and then they were out on the West Coast after that. So they were in America for quite a few weeks and things, and he actually went to learn martial arts and judo and taekwondo and karate. Karate was the thing, and he also had a night when he got absolutely hammered, and they found him in the corridor outside his hotel room with the door absolutely flat on the floor. Eventually they managed to bring him round. They wanted to know why the door was off its hinges lying on the floor, and he explained to them that he karate chopped the hinges because he'd forgotten his key and he didn't want to go downstairs, so he just, you know, pushed the door in, and they didn't believe him. So he took them across the other side of the corridor, and he chopped another one down, and they sent him home.
I think
what we do when we've had a vodka too many.
Do you do that sort of thing? Do you destroy hotel rooms?
No, I generally don't forget my key. So 219 for Bonk, put it up 4 kilos despite the failure. So this is a bold move, because this technically is a 9 kilo increase. Don't see too many of those. So they're going for this.
No, it's not coming off.
Well, that would have taken him to 392, and I can see what they were thinking about, but it hasn't come off, as you said. But still, Kolechki to start his clean and jerk attempts. So Simon Kolechki, Bartolomew's Bonk's teammate, coming in at 219. Now Kolechki only 173 kilos.
Yes, had a very bad back problem for a while.
So take him to 392. Kolechki won the European Championships with 395. So I wonder whether he's thinking that he can get away with that on the Worlds, but Konstantinov looked pretty good. So this is going to be quite nip and tuck, I think. There's still Hernandez as well in the wings. Was that a little prayer? Because it didn't look that convincing. I mean, he's got it, but you know what I mean, David.
Yeah, he's clearly struggling today, and you know, the question is he going to be able to go any further? Probably not.
Very wobbly.
Of course, we've forgotten about this man.
Well, you might have done.
I'd forgotten about it, really.
Pan American Games champion. Lifted 221 there. $220 on the bar now. And only his second attempt, so he's got one more card after this. Be really quite good if he could actually get this. Make it quite interesting. Because he's one of several who were left on 173 kilos at the halfway stage, but this is where he's making a difference. Ooh.
Head.
Well, it's just as well he's got one more attempt. Now, odds against rather than odds for, really, third time around when that happens.
Yes, sometimes you are the most difficult person to beat, and he's really going to be fighting against himself on this one.
Spirits are rising, aren't they, in the Russian camp? Roman Konstantinov. So far, so good. Meanwhile, remember they're two-handed. They've got Demyanov and Konstantinov. So this for 397, it's getting serious now. And of course the lead in the clean and jerk.
Very strong lifting. Just needs to bring the feet in line. Looks good. And I think this is going to be the man to beat.
Interesting thing, though, is the Cuban is actually lighter.
But the Cuban's behind. He is
Yeah.
lighter, but he's behind on the snatch. Remember, he's giving away 4 kilos on the snatch,
but
isn't he?
clean and jerk could be interesting. But
Well, if the Cuban comes out and clean and jerks 220, I mean, he snatched 173, didn't he?
yeah,
So if he clean and jerks 220, it's actually going to put him in the. It's going to put him into a possible overall medal. So he's got to.
and it's going to put him into the lead on the clean and jerk.
Yeah. So he's got to just overcome his head problem now. If he can do that, then he's in with a chance. Now,
More often than not, David, when you've had someone who loses it like that, they don't come back, not in the same competition. So,
well, let's see. Let's see. Let's see if the coaches have inspired him, and if the fact that this actually a medal rests on this has also inspired him. How much does he want it?
well, it's on the shoulders now. One last effort. Good.
Very good. Great to come back from that. Lost it, regained it, and takes the lead on the clean and jerk.
I thought there might have been a 2-1. It was a question whether there was a little press out on the left arm, but I mean, we've seen it 2 or 3 different ways. Have a look at this, David. Give me your opinion. I thought maybe the left elbow.
Well, it's hard to call, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd have given it to him. I mean, like I say, my view on the press out is it's a stupid rule.
Well, that's a pretty good recovery, as you said, 393, and that gets him.
Looks as if he had some back problems, so he was sort of going against pain, really.
Yeah. 393 though, David. That's a kilo above Kolechki, and he's now. Well, he's finished. He's 4 down on Konstantinov. So now we got Demyanov, who's the other Russian, and he's in a hurry because the clock is ticking down. 2:24. So,
well, trying to pull back the deficit.
well, he's trying to get for the. This would give him what 224. That's another 7 kilos. That would take him to 394. Would put him into overall silver. This will be some lift if he can do that. Well.
Well, so close.
Yeah, the hips just went behind and he couldn't do it. But that was a brave attempt. Yeah, it's a pity that Demyanov actually 387 leaves him in 4th place, which is a bit frustrating, but Konstantinov and Kolechki. Hernandez has finished on 393. Now, Kolechki. 2 attempts.
Well, this is sort of getting up around the weights that he used to lift. Still holds that world record at 232, so he's even if he does this, he's still a way off of that.
Well, this would give him 398, and he has to do that because he's heavier than Konstantinov.
So this is for the overall lead and the
clean and jerk.
lead on the clean and jerk.
Yeah.
Needs to stand through this now. Well, cleaned it. But it does look heavy. Oh, so close.
Nah.
Well, that's the best I've seen him recently. Did very, very well to, but he was just signalling there to his head, to the head. He was he's just having to sit down. He was passing out. Needs more oxygen. He really had to work there to.
Yeah, it is really tight to the windpipe, isn't it?
Still took it to straight arms, but just not in the efficient position underneath the bar to maintain it overhead.
I still, the thing that still always nags in my mind, David, is how he didn't defeat Kakashvilis in 2000.
Tactics, wasn't it? Kakashvilis kept pushing the weight up, and he kept pushing the weight up, and the reality was that Kakashvilis was never going to come out because he was injured.
Yeah.
So it was purely a tactical battle. If he'd have come out on the weight and played his own game, he would have been Olympic champion.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that Kakashvilis was injured because Kakashvilis never showed any sign that he had a problem. So.
Good acting.
Yeah, and Yakovu did very well. Very well. Knew how to play the game. Just kept up in the weights, and Kolechki, fell for it.
You would be sick as a parrot though when you discovered that afterwards, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what makes sport interesting, though, isn't it? If everything was just based on what people had done, then we could just write the results down, and we wouldn't need the competition, would we?
No.
I mean, there are so many factors involved in winning, and no one knows that better than me. Going back to that 2002 Commonwealth Games, there are so many different factors that can change the results. Egos making people choose the wrong weights that they don't need to win, doping infringements, all kinds of things. So Steve Cannon standing there trying to look quite important when we think he should be back in England.
Well, no. I think, to be fair, let's have a balanced view about it. I mean, I think to be at a World Championships, to be up and in touch with everything, I think that's fair enough. We're just concerned that there's so much work to do with the British Weightlifting Federation that you can't afford a day off because there's an awful lot to do.
Well, there's plenty of other people that can do the technical controller's job. He really should be.
Well, let's just concentrate on this, because this is for the overall lead, possibly the championship. 2:25, final attempt by Kolechki.
No. If he was going to do it, it was going to be that first time.
Yeah, he was looking to add the world title to the Europeans for this season, but not to be. Real disappointment there. You see it.
Well, I think he expected to do that, actually.
Yeah.
So training is he's obviously getting somewhere back to his old form, and hopefully he'll really come into his own next year in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's just that's good to see. The coach is just trying to put some perspective into it.
What is good is he still wants it. He still wants it. He still believes that he should be the champion, and he's genuinely disappointed.
There is the champion though, Konstantinov. He can't be beaten. And 3:97 does the trick for Roman Konstantinov of Russia, who, by virtue of that failure by Simon Kolechki, has got the 94 kilo championship. And clearly at the age of 24, plenty to offer. Just a year younger than Kolechki. And the 2:20 that Konstantinov did, because of the 177 in the snatch, that advantage absolutely crucial. And you see Kolechki snatched 177 in the Europeans.
So if he could have done it here, it may have been...
Absolutely. He wouldn't have had to go to 225 and things would have been a lot closer. But that's the if-only situation. As it is, this man has produced the goods on the day and has taken the championship. 210, 217. .220. Well, it's been a pretty good day. Confirmation here in the clean and jerk. Hernandez of Cuba, a really good consolation by virtue of lighter body weight, taking the gold in the clean and jerk division ahead of Konstantinov. Kolechki the bronze. Demanov, you can see there closing up. Demanov had a chance to actually get into the overall medals, and there Turkin medal in the snatch phase, but not able to follow through. Vakachuk getting a total, but a pretty modest one. And Bratan, the man who's in the medal at the halfway stage, well, bombing out 3 clean and jerks, but not able to do it. So tracksuits on, podiums ready, medals on trays. Beautiful Thai women ready to hand those to the officials. Confirmation that Roman Konstantinov is the champion of the 94 kilo class with 397, 4 ahead of Hernandez, the Pan American Games champion of the season. Kolechki, the European champion, in bronze medal position. But he'll think, I think, David, that things didn't go his way today. But generally, if that's the sort of opposition he's going to face in the Olympics next year, he'll bring them on.